President Cyril Ramaphosa is calling an urgent family meeting tomorrow. His address comes as South Africa enters its second COVID-19 wave. But what would be going back into a stricter lockdown mean for the country's economy and its people? Joining me now to unpack this is Pan-African Capital Holdings Chief Executive Iraj Abedian. Iraj, thank you so much for joining me this evening. A very simple question. If we head back into lockdown, which looks like it because we're in the midst of our second wave, what would be the impact on the economy?
Clearly very negative. The economy is now struggling to get out of the consequences or the impact of the first lockdown, and putting it back into that type of lockdown is going to be absolutely fatal for the economy. I don't think it will be able to accept it, nor I believe is it necessary to go to that level of panic-driven lockdown. We need to be a lot more selective. We have learned a great deal about how the virus spreads, and I think we must think of creative new ways of containing the virus, not containing economic activities.
Would you prefer targeted interventions rather than just a blanket lockdown?
Absolutely. I think countries like UK and elsewhere, they have learned that targeted containment or lockdown is far more effective as opposed to this sort of blanket or a provincial or national lockdown, which is detrimental to the economy without having much impact on the public health sort of advantages.
You have to say the government is kind of caught in between a rock and a hard place in this particular scenario. Business has to also come to the party in terms of we've seen super spreader events, and these are money-making events and so forth. What is business doing to play its part in all this?
I think business, to some extent, has come to the party in the sense that if you go to any shopping center, into any bank or any business outfit these days, you have all kinds of precautions, be it sanitization or mask requirement, etc., etc. So that is the business. But the businesses that you refer to, the organizers of parties and all kinds of rages, as they call them, is absolutely unethical, and they need to be. That's a type of containment that the government should target, not so-called run-of-the-mill businesses that are on the productive side of the economy. Even if you look at the hospitality industry, hotels and conferencing, they take extra measures or precautions to make sure that it does not contribute to the spread of the virus. But then you get irresponsible businesses such as organizing matric rages and New Year events and so on. Those definitely need to be targeted.
Some of the numbers that were bandied about after the first hard lockdown was an estimate of about 1.4 to 1.6 million jobs lost, informal jobs, and also in the informal sector, almost 800,000 or so, further 1 million jobs lost in the informal sector. Who suffers the most from these lockdowns when it comes to job losses and economic activity?
Unfortunately, the most vulnerable end up losing again. You refer to the informal, or if you like, survivalist businesses who got no savings, no safety net, and they are dependent on going on a daily job to get bread on the table, so to speak, for the family. At the same time, the lowest paid workers, the most unskilled, they are the ones that suffer. So in terms of the economic consequences, it's not just that the GDP contracts and so on and so forth, it's the actual national welfare. Unfortunately, the most vulnerable in the society end up being, once again, hardest hit. And that's, I think, from a political economy point of view, we have to take extra care not to subject their well-being to the irresponsibility of some part of the society that wants to make quick bucks and is not conscious of the impact on the welfare of the poor.
Iraj Abedian, thank you so much for speaking with me this evening.